We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Included in that, a conversation with Matt Verderame, who does a terrific job with SI.com, their NFL insider. Sam Yarnell will be here for that as well. NFL free agency well underway, even though you can't officially sign until Wednesday. So we'll get into that. And we'll get into that coming up here in the big story in a couple of minutes. The World Baseball Classic, we will touch on that both now in the big story and as well later on in the show, as there's plenty of news coming out of the WBC as pool play continues. We'll also get into the NBA a little later on, and odds and ends. A huge night for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who continue to try and prove they are still the team to beat out in the Western Conference and in the NBA as a whole. So we'll get to that coming up a little later on as well. But first, we get things started on this Tuesday, as we do every day. It's time for the big story. And the big story today begins with the NFL, where NFL free agency began. I mean, yesterday was impossible for us to keep up with as a show. Granted, we only get an hour every day here on the TV side of things. And again, this is why I will keep telling you, if you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, because this is the place where everything gets covered. Yes, we have the Monday through Friday TV version of the show there, but we also have Sports Wrap Shorts. And as news breaks throughout the day, we encourage you to hit our Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, because that's where all the latest news, signings, big free agency signings, trades, anything of that nature, we will have it covered there for you on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. So make sure to go and check that out. Now, with that having been said, some surprising moves yesterday. Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs, which we'll obviously talk about with Matt Verderame from SI, who's a longtime Chiefs reporter and talk show host as well. We'll get into it with him on that signing with Kenneth Walker landing in Kansas City and giving them the first viable running back, perhaps, of Patrick Mahomes' entire run in Kansas City. And they haven't had a 1,000-yard back since Patrick Mahomes got there. Think about that for a second. Now they have Kenneth Walker, who just won a Super Bowl MVP. So there's that. Mike Evans, though, is the curious one to me. Mike Evans moving on from Tampa Bay to the San Francisco 49ers. And to me, it points out that they have to be feeling like, Mike Evans had to be feeling like, he had plateaued in terms of how far he was going to be able to get with this Buccaneers team. That he wasn't going to be able to win another Super Bowl there. And at this stage of his career, what else does Mike Evans have to accomplish? Talking about a guy that's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. Talking about a guy that's won a Super Bowl. Now you say, what else could I accomplish? Where could I accomplish it? And he goes to a situation in San Francisco. Remember, that 49er team was beset by so many injuries. And now Mike Evans has an opportunity to go there, be a big receiver and an obvious target for Brock Purdy. And if you're the Niners, you get somebody who just takes a little bit of the load off of Christian McCaffrey, who had more carries, more touches than anybody in this league last year. Even more than Bijan Robinson, who you'd think might be that guy, but he's not. It was CMC. And if anything, we talk about all the different needs of teams in this offseason. Who needs what? Who has to get what? Well, the Niners had to do something to take some of that pressure, relieve some of that pressure, pull the pin a little bit on everything CMC had to do over the course of a 17-game schedule. Adding Mike Evans in the receiving game will help to do that. And I always say this, never underestimate what it means to get a veteran guy, late in his career, trying to still win another championship. The change of scenery thing is very real. We could point to numerous sports where it's been the case. And I think Mike Evans is going to pay huge dividends out there in San Francisco, or in this case, Santa Clara, for the Niners. There are still many questions to be answered in free agency. Some of them center around this man, Aaron Rodgers. Where might he wind up? How do you, as a Steelers organization, try and go through this process of free agency? Guys like Kirk Cousins are out there. Jacoby Brissett is out there. Kyler Murray is out there, although it sounds like he's going to land in Minnesota with the Vikings. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, what are you doing in this offseason to address your quarterback situation? Because Aaron Rodgers still hasn't told you what he plans to do. He doesn't have a timetable to tell anybody what he plans to do. How do you, as an organization, if you are Pittsburgh, and I like the Michael Pittman move. I think the Michael Pittman move is a good one for this team. You get yourself a solid back who's going to be able to obviously help you do some things in the run game, but in the receiving game, rather. But who's throwing the football in Pittsburgh this year? That still remains a huge question. And I don't know how you as an organization allow yourselves to be sort of held hostage in this spot. Are they talking to Aaron Rodgers? Remains to be seen. Later in the show, we're going to talk about the World Baseball Classic. But I wanted to at least give it a minute here because the United States did something yesterday that it has not done in the last 20 years, and that was beat Mexico. Aaron Judge leading the way early on, a 2-run home run, made a big play defensively. And Team USA is able to withstand a couple of home runs from Jaron Duran in this game as they go on to beat Mexico 5-3, remain undefeated so far. Roman Anthony hit a home run in this game as well. USA will play Italy. But there was bad news for the U.S., and it's this. Tarik Skubal's not going to pitch again in this World Baseball Classic. He talked about not being able to sleep, how difficult it was to come to this decision, but ultimately, Tarik Skubal has made the decision to walk away from this team. Now, he says he's going to come and watch if they're in the semifinals or the finals. That's nice, Tarik, but this team needed Tarik Skubal. When you're talking about the best teams in the world and the best collection of players from different countries in the world in this World Baseball Classic, the United States isn't going to have arguably one of their biggest arms, if not their biggest arm, pitching for them when we get to the latter rounds of this tournament. Disappointed in Tarik Skubal. We'll talk about it later on, but coming up, we're talking football. Matt Verderame's next. Welcome back to the show. We touched on it a bit in the big story. Let's expand upon it now. NFL free agency well underway, even though nobody can sign officially until Wednesday. Always happy to bring in our good friend, returning champion, Matt Verderame, SI, NFL Insider, to hang out with us. All right, kill the music. Give me your top line view of day one of unofficial free agency.
I mean, not that this is stunning, but just a ton of money going all over creation. I think it was like $1.3 billion were doled out on Monday. Listen, some teams like the Raiders and Titans who had money, you expected them to spend. They did. I think they were probably the two most active teams. The Saints were pretty active. The Commanders were pretty active. But, listen, I thought overall there were only a few contracts that I really looked at and said, man, that's a lot of money. It's a lot. I mean, look, happy for him, but Boye Mafe, 3 years, $60 million with Cincinnati. I mean, he had 2 sacks last year. Jalen Phillips, 4 and 120. Jalen Phillips never had more than 8 sacks in a season. He's had 2 really, really bad lower body injuries in his career. Like, thrilled for the players, but those are huge, huge gambles. And then I guess I would also say, too, look, I thought Linderbaum would get paid a ton. I thought he would be in the 20-ish, 21 area per year, which would have reset the market because the prior record was 18. To get $27 million a year, fully guaranteed, by the way, like 3 and whatever that is, 84, fully guaranteed, or 381, is just unbelievable. So, listen, I thought a lot of teams had good days. I think of all the teams that had a bad day, probably the Ravens, honestly. I mean, Linderbaum out. I feel like the Giants signed half the Ravens team. Elodie Gilman went to the Chiefs. They lost a lot. The Ravens lost a lot of talent off that roster on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants lost Bellinger, and then they get Likely. I felt like they upgraded, obviously, there with Isaiah Likely coming in. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, because you do a fantastic job with the Matt Verderame show over on Patreon as well, and I know you talk a lot of Chiefs. Give me the view on Kenneth Walker, getting this 3-year deal, and obviously what it adds to a Chiefs team that's been one of the worst rushing teams in the league for what feels like forever.
I mean, they had to. Yeah, they had to sign either Walker or Etienne. And look, I mean, if you talk to people in that building, I remember dating back to early December. I mean, during the season, texting with people at Arrowhead and hearing, we can't continue to do this. We are blowing open huge holes and nobody can hit them. It was a source of major frustration inside that building. All you need to know about the Chiefs' run game last year was they had 3 runs of over 20 yards last year, and 2 of them were by Xavier Worthy and Patrick Mahomes. They just can't run. They could not run. Walker gives them that explosiveness, that home run hitting ability. He can catch the ball a little bit. They needed somebody back there to take the pressure off Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes has never had an 1,000-yard back.
That's staggering. That's staggering to think about.
Look, I did this research yesterday because I didn't know if I was going to write a column, and I ended up not having to. But in 21 playoff games in Mahomes' career, 21 games, they have had 2 100-yard rushing performances from a player, none of which have come since Super Bowl 54. And he has led them in rushing 5 times. But they can't run. They've never been able to even remotely run the ball around. So I'm not surprised. I thought they would go after and get one of those 2 guys, and they wasted no time. Walker was one of the first announced signings of the day.
Sam?
Matt, so I want to delve into the Chiefs. There are a bazillion different angles you can take on this team, but real quick on the Walker thing, a ton of rumblings, obviously, over the last couple of weeks of the Chiefs being in on the Jeremiah Love sweepstakes, right? And potentially moving up in the draft because of how good of a combine he had. Do you think this takes them out of the running, or are they still going to try and bring in Jeremiah Love and run a dual backfield with both of those guys?
Would be hilarious to watch. Would be unbelievable. Just the Chiefs turning into a wishbone offense. No, I to your point though, it's a legitimate question. I think I don't think they'll do that, just because right now, things can change. We're sitting here on Tuesday morning. There's a lot of free agency to go. Right now, their 2 biggest needs are edge rusher, number 1, and number 2 is probably receiver, because Rashee Rice is not coming back after this year. I don't even know if he's playing this year, but if he plays this year, he's not playing next year in Kansas City. They've got Worthy. They really like Tyquan Thornton. They brought him back late last night in a 2-year deal. But they need a legitimate top-end receiver. They have not had a 1,000-yard receiver since Tarik Hill. So they need somebody, and obviously a wide receiver. Kelsey's not it. I think if Carnell Tate's there at 9, they're going to have a hard time turning him down. Like, if Carnell Tate's sitting there at 9, I think Mahomes is going to jam the phone lines that Warren, but you are taking this guy. I think they want to get back to where they can just score 28, 30 points a game and tell Spagnuolo, hey, look, hold them 3 times and we'll outscore teams. But yeah, I think that edge rush receiver, Reuben Bain, David Bailey, Tate, Lemon, I think that's right now more likely at 9.
Well, yeah, I mean, with Reuben Bain's arms, you might be able to trade back and still get him. But Matt, real quick, you mentioned Tyreek Hill. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was a week ago, time's flown by over the past couple of weeks. He had the news of his release with Miami. Do you expect, I know there's a ton of people online talking about how much nostalgia there'd be there. Do you think there's a realistic chance Tyreek Hill plays for the Chiefs next year?
I think it's unlikely. He still needs to have his LCL surgery. Like, he hasn't even had that yet. So I don't know if he's playing for anybody next year. I mean, maybe he's one of the one way I could see it, Sammy, is if it's one of these deals where he comes back for the last 5 games of the year and the playoffs, and the Chiefs just say, you know what, sure, we'll sign it for 2 months. Now, I'm not being facetious. I'm not kidding. I don't know that Brett Veach would ever sleep if Rashee Rice and Tyreek Hill were just going out and hanging out. And I mean, that, there's been enough off-field stuff between those 2 guys. I think Veach would have his phone on DEFCON 1 every second of his life while those 2 were in the building. I mean, it's been one thing after the next with Rice, and obviously Hill has his things off the field that we all know about. So part of me genuinely wonders, would the Chiefs do that? Would they really do that? But, look, the Chiefs have never been a team to shy away from that. I mean, it's not a credit to them. That's the merit, in my opinion. But the Chiefs have always been willing to kind of overlook a lot if it means that you're on the field and talented. I just don't know that he's going to be healthy this year.
Matt Verderame's hanging out with us from SI, does a terrific job. NFL Insider, also the Matt Verderame Show over on Patreon. There's more to get to with him, winners and losers from day one of NFL free agency. I'm interested to get his thoughts on a team that we haven't gotten into yet. We talked about the Seattle Seahawks losing Kenneth Walker. What about the Patriots? We'll get to him next. All right, continuing the conversation with Matt Verderame. SI does a great job on the NFL. Talked some about the Chiefs and their wants and needs and moves that they've already made with Kenneth Walker. You talk about winners and losers. You mentioned the Ravens, losing everybody to the Giants on day one of free agency. What were the Patriots doing? Like, what's New England up to here? Because it didn't feel like it was all that much.
No, it was surprising. I thought they'd be one of the more active teams. And, look, they brought in Reggie Gilliam, who I actually really like. I think Gilliam's a really nice player. He'll give him some oomph in the backfield. They brought in Elijah Vera-Tucker at guard. Now, look, Vera-Tucker's talented, but he's hurt a lot. Like, can he stay on the field? I mean, that's kind of the big question with Vera-Tucker. I thought they would add a weapon on the passing side of things, and they didn't. And listen, I think some of the money for some guys out there is not. Alec Pierce, I think that contract is just astronomical. So I don't blame New England for not going anywhere near that. But yeah, I thought, New England, a couple guys are still out there. Guys like Romeo Dobbs, somebody like that. Like, he's not going to have 1,200 yards probably, but he's a good player. I was surprised. They let Tonga go, who's one of their D tackles inside. Not a pass rusher, but a really good run stuffer. He went to Kansas City. I thought they would be more. Now, they were really active last year. Last year, they were one of the teams that just spent like crazy, and it worked out for them, obviously. I thought they would do more to shore up the offense, maybe add an edge rusher, and they didn't. You're right. I was surprised that they were as inactive as they were on Monday.
Matt, when you look at, you mentioned the numbers that Pierce commanded, right? You look at the contract that Mike Evans gets out west in San Francisco, right? What do you make of the current price of wide receivers just in the general market?
That it's gotten to a point that I think a lot of these teams are better off just drafting a guy, truthfully. I mean, and because we've also seen a shift in college where teams now throw the ball more than ever in college. I mean, when I was a kid, it was a handful of teams that threw the ball, and then everybody else ran because the quarterback sucked. We have better quarterbacks now. Teams throw the ball better. The receivers are more polished. If I'm a team that needs a receiver, like for an example, I think Buffalo, even though they traded for DJ Moore, they probably still need another receiver. If I'm the Bills, I'm just drafting Denzel Boston or KC Concepcion or one of these guys. Like, I'm not giving Darnell Mooney $15 million. I'm not doing that. Why? What up? The only receiver out there right now that I'd be like, okay, like Dobbs to me is a good player. He's a legitimately like number 2 receiver. He can go out, he can play, he can run the full route tree. Evans, look, love Mike Evans. Mike Evans is entering his mid-30s in 3 years, $60 million.
Gonna ask you about him, yeah.
Like, I know there are a lot of people, including my buddy and colleague Connor Orr, thinks it's the best free agent signing of the day. And look, maybe it will be. You're giving a guy $20 million a year who's coming off of a hamstring plague season, everything. Like, it's a lot. And the funny thing is, like, these running backs that are top tier guys, they're paid like wide receiver 3. I mean, it's crazy. But I think that's why more teams are being aggressive at running back, because it's like, what? I'd rather pay this running back who's going to have 1,500 total yards and 10 touchdowns over this receiver who's going to have 600. But the market has gotten wonky. And Alec Pierce is a good player, but to get $30+ million a year? I mean, I like Alec Pierce, but what? I mean, that just seemed like, I actually think Michael Pittman Jr., quite honestly, I think I'd rather have him. I was not surprised because you hear all these rumblings, but I still think it's crazy he got the money he got.
Trey Hendrickson, thoughts on sort of where he, fits into this sort of free agency frenzy that everybody's talking about right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, the one thing that's scary if you're Hendrickson is, sometimes in free agency, it's not always even about who the best player is, but like how quickly you can get a deal done. Jalen Phillips, to his credit, I mentioned him earlier. His agent heard 4 and 120 and was like, guess what? Deal. Done. Let's lock that in immediately, right? OA getting $100 million. Like, there are guys who are on the market who are just, they're getting paid instantly. And once that money's gone, it's gone. And all these free agency dollars start drying up. And with Hendrickson, I think everybody around the league figured like, okay, probably 3 and 100, something like that. He might still get it. But teams are, look, a lot of people thought Dallas was going to be the team. Well, they traded for Sean Gary. So they're probably not in. Is a team like the Bears, do they make sense if that price comes down a little bit? The one thing that's hard with Hendrickson is he's over the age of 30. And he's coming off of a little bit of a down year. I still think he's an excellent player. But, once those huge dollars start coming off the board, it's tough, because when you think about it, okay, so a team like the Commanders, the Panthers, they were obviously willing to spend really big on edge help. The Chargers with Mac to a degree. But how many teams can afford him? Like, how many teams can afford him? How many teams have the need? And also, I believe he's 31. If you're a team that's not good, even if you have the money and the need, who cares? You're not signing him. Like, for what? He's 30 some odd years old. You're not going to do that. So I'll be very interested. Like a team, I mentioned them just now, like even like Buffalo. If I'm Buffalo, I'd be like, hey, can we make this work? Because to me, the biggest problem the Bills had in the playoffs is they can never get a pass rush, ever. Like, Now they're going to a 3-4, and so maybe you say, well, but like teams play sub packages all the time. Buffalo, the Bears, teams like that are teams that if I'm involved in the edge market, yeah, I want to know what can I get him for 250? Can I do that? Because if I can do that, I'm in.
Matt, we talked earlier about all these teams who had a ton of money coming into free agency and doling out left and right? The Titans and the Raiders come to mind. You obviously, covering the Chiefs as closely as you do, are very familiar with the Raiders. We assume they're going to get Mendoza. We know they have Genti. We know they have Bowers. All this money that they spent, can the Raiders be competitive next year?
I hesitate to say yes, only because I've watched the Raiders for 25 years, just not figure it out. Look, I like to hire Kubiak, and I'm curious to see how Mendoza plays. Mendoza, I think in a lot of quarterback classes is like the third or fourth guy off the board, and that's not to say he's not good. It's just he's not your typical number one guy who you're like, oh, that guy's just this absolute slam dunk and he's going to be an all-pro and everything else. Listen, I love the signing of Linderbaum. I don't even care that they overpaid for him because they have so much cap space, it doesn't really matter. Defensively, Nakobe Dean, they add him, they revamp, they re-signed Kuntz, they brought in Kenneth Walker. Like, I still think in the secondary, they're a disaster, and I have no idea who's rushing the passer outside of Malcolm Kuntz. Like, I don't think they're going to be very good yet next year. But to your point, I think they've at least raised the floor of the team where they're not going to be a total embarrassment. Where like last year, I looked at them and went, oh my God. Like, I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like they will, assuming Mendoza can play, they'll at least be, maybe a 6 to 7 win team.
Matt Verderame, SI, does a great job. Check him out also on the Matt Verderame Show over on Patreon. Always appreciate you, my friend. Be well.
You got it. No problem.
Coming up in 10 minutes, the World Baseball Classic. The United States finally beats Mexico after 20 years. I guess you could say they were due. Sam Yarnell is back. Thanks again to Matt Verderame for hanging out with us from SI and talking some NFL. All right, a couple of things I want to get to in this segment. One is Tua Tagovailoa, who it looks like has landed a potential starting gig. Talk about a landing after what transpired in Miami, because he goes to Atlanta. Depending on the health of Michael Penix, and even with the health of Michael Penix, I mean, they might be tempted. I think there's a legit quarterback battle there in Atlanta. I didn't think Penix played particularly well last year. I thought they played better with Kirk Cousins as the starting quarterback. I'm interested to see how that sort of shakes down. With Tua signing there. It's for a 1-year deal, sort of a prove it deal. Try to get your career righted in a sucky division I mean, why not?
Yeah, or have your career ended. Like, this is my thing that I'm very confused about with all of this discourse going on, but in the Michael Penix versus Tua Tagovailoa camp. Yeah, sure, Michael Penix's health has been an issue over the course of his career. Are we gonna pretend like Tua's hasn't? I saw a tweet yesterday, and while a little bit trivial, it was pretty funny. It was like the Falcons quarterback room currently consists of a dude who's had 3 leg surgeries in the last 3 years, a dude who's 1 concussion away from we don't know what, and a dude who's getting paid $180 million to watch the first 2 compete for the job. When we talk about organizational malpractice, Jason, this is the embodiment of what we are talking about. And I'll tell you what, it's not a great look for Matt Ryan. It's really not in his first year as the president of football for the Atlanta Falcons. Again, let me reiterate, not the president of football operations. Matt Ryan is the president of football for the Atlanta Falcons. And for this to be his quarterback room right now, it's quite problematic.
All right, let me ask you something then. What were they supposed to do in this offseason to fix this?
Do exactly what we've been talking about with other teams, namely the Arizona Cardinals.
You think
and
they
the
should
New York
tank?
Jets.
You think they should
tank? I think they should have wasted a draft pick in the mid to late rounds on a quarterback who, I'm going to use that name again, the one that I'm so addicted to using on this show. Go get Drew Aller. Start Drew Aller for a year, win 2 games, and then be in the conversation to draft Arch Manning, to draft Lenoris Sellers, to draft a guy who actually is going to be a franchise quarterback. We're hearing, Jason, that there could be a record number of quarterbacks drafted in this upcoming draft, in the 2027
they're not all gonna hit,
NFL draft.
But they're not all going to hit. They're not all going to hit.
But I'll take my chances in a draft that's got 7 quarterbacks potentially going in the first round. A draft that people are comparing to the 2018 quarterback draft that produced the likes of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Sam Darnold, right? Like, I'll take my chances on that draft class rather than kicking the can down the road with Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix.
I don't like throwing away a Bijan Robinson year. I don't like throwing away a guy's prime years.
It's a fair counterpoint.
And in that division, you're always going to be able to be competitive. My God, they tied for the division. They had the same number of wins as the division winner last year, starting Penix, and then Penix gets hurt and Kirk Cousins. I mean, they were that close to winning the division, Sam.
They also had the same number of wins as the team that came in 3rd place in their division this year. They're just as close to coming in 3rd as they are to winning the division.
Travis Etienne to the Saints. What does it mean for Alvin Kamara? That's what a lot of people are asking right now.
Yeah, and I just realized we just made this entire segment about the NFC South. Credit to us for making an NFC South segment the second week of March.
Absolutely.
This move was one of many that the Saints made yesterday, Jason. And, I'm kind of confused by it, but at the same time, you have to understand the message that the teams are conveying to you, the fan, through all of their moves. The New Orleans Saints believe in Tyler Shuck. The New Orleans Saints see something in Tyler Shuck that leads them to believe that he could be their quarterback for a long time. Because they're starting to put contracts in place that they could leverage in seasons to come if they do become very competitive. I tell you, if the Saints are right about Tyler Shuck, Jason, all of this talk that you and I started the segment with, talking about how this division, right, is one that gets seemingly turned over year in and year out, that could all be over if the Saints really do have something in Tyler Shuck. That's what I'm nervous about with, all their moves, the ETN move. And I think Kamara, to the point of the question, right, is as good as gone. We spent 2 straight trade deadlines talking about where this guy's going to get traded to, only for him to not be traded. It feels like he's finally going to get moved. I am starting to worry about the Saints.
The Giants made another move today. They signed Greg Newsome, 1 year worth up to $10 million, played for the Jags last year, played for the Browns prior to that. So the Giants continue to make moves. I think the Giants are going to be interesting next year. I really do.
Yeah, they certainly are. It's going to as it has so many times in John Harbaugh's career, right? It's going to come down to his coaching job and how many wins that can lead them to. They're going to have the talent to put out on the field. The New York Giants are going to be exponentially talented compared to the team that they put on the field last year, Jason. I told you this when the offseason started, and I know you didn't want to believe me, but there's reason to be hopeful for the Giants. You just got to hope that John Harbaugh can protect himself from, well, John Harbaugh.
And we mentioned the Raiders. We talked about them with Matt before. It's gonna be fascinating to watch. Sort of how that team evolves in this offseason under Clint Kubiak. I know you're high on them. We'll obviously keep tabs. I am based here in Vegas, so I had to throw a little shout out there to the Raiders. All right, World Baseball Classic. Captain America leads the way. It's next. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. What a night for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Whew. Just amazing stuff. Nuggets and Thunder played a beauty. And the Thunder were without some of their biggest stars other than SGA, and they still won that game. We'll get into it. But first, some World Baseball Classic conversation. Because the U.S. did something it hasn't done in 20 years, Sam Yarnell. They beat Mexico. 5-3 was the final score. At 5-0, I actually put out a sports wrap short sort of touting the U.S., and then I started watching Jaron Duran hitting bombs all over the park, and I'm like, I may have to delete this sports wrap short that we did. But it didn't turn out that way. Aaron Judge got Team USA started with a defensive play. I guess the arm's okay. 92-mile-per-hour rocket to third from Aaron Judge to throw out a would-be base runner. And then Judge hits the home run. Captain America! To make it 2-0 USA. Roman Anthony hits a home run as well. Bobby Witt was fantastic defensively. Paul Skeens, 7 strikeouts. And the U.S. does something it hadn't done, like I said, in 20 years. They beat Mexico by a final score of 5-3. Who knows? Maybe we get a rematch of these teams when we get to the knockout stage. That's certainly a possibility. And it sounds like Benji Heel wants that. If you read the quotes after the game, he's like, we want the USA again. There's no love lost between these two teams, which is kind of interesting. I guess not surprising with our neighbors to the south having a bit of an inferiority complex.
This is so funny. It's so funny that people made such a big deal about this game, and the U.S. hasn't beaten them in 20 years, and my this and that. And then you're talking about a Mexico team that wasn't even in the top 5 of teams that were favored to win this tournament before it started. And the U.S. has one good offensive inning against them. Again, if it weren't for the second inning of U.S. baseball on offense, they would have lost that game. Not they would have tied. They would have lost the game if it weren't for the one good offensive production inning that they had. Yeah, Jason, I mean, there are so many. First of all, you're playing an away game on American soil. That is patently ridiculous. No time that should ever happen. I mean, every USA baseball fan should be disgraced with themselves that was allowed to happen in Houston last night. Credit to the Mexican fans. That was absolutely electric, the atmosphere that they created in there, because it wasn't the American fans doing it. It was truly special to watch. And I think, you have to be scared for this America team. They squeak out a win against a team that nobody considered a top 5 team in this tournament. This has to be a wake-up call for Team USA. The second Paul Skeens came out of that game, every single USA baseball fan, myself included, just about wrote the team off. Right? And then Jaron Duran hits the second home run, and you're like, now this is actually going to turn into a sweat. Now the U.S. is actually going to have to try to win this game. It was absolutely ridiculous that this is what it's come to for USA baseball, Jason. And all of this ridiculous win that you could basically qualify as a loss, considering the U.S. did not cover the spread in the game.
Who cares?
It's all coming off of the announcement from Tarik Skubal that he's going to be, by the time we're recording this, he has flown on his private jet back to Lakeland, Florida to rejoin the Major League Baseball Detroit Tigers. That it is.
I don't want to hear Skubal. I don't want to hear Skubal talk. I lost sleep over this.
Yeah, sure.
I couldn't
sure. No, you didn't, because no one cares about USA Baseball. Because no Major League Baseball player besides Paul Skeens, Kyle Schwarber, and Aaron Judge care about USA Baseball. And that's just the facts. If it hasn't shown you by their quotes in the media, it's shown you by their play on the field. There are 3 players on that roster that care about USA Baseball as an organization.
All I can do is hope that when we get to the knockout stage and the intensity starts to ratchet up, that they could sort of match the level that some of these other countries are going to bring. Because I talked about this yesterday on the show. There is an energy and an enthusiasm that's coming, from the Koreas, the Japans, even, the Chinese Taipeis of the world, Mexico, Dominican Republic. These countries out there that are bringing so much more energy and enthusiasm towards this thing, Sam. The Dominican Republic, case in point. How about Fernando Tatis? I know you wanted to talk about Tatis.
Now let's talk about some good baseball.
Sam is begging to be deported right now. Cash Patel's on line 1.
So excited by this Dominican team. I'm getting choked up over here. I every time you turn on the TV and this Dominican baseball team is playing, it's what you love about the sport of baseball. It is everything that is right about the sport of baseball. It is all, 28 of those guys active on that roster in that dugout, understanding that we're playing this game for, our nation. We are representing the thousands of people back home who only get to see this once every 3 years. And, we are one of the best groups of baseball players in the world. And we come from an island nation 250 miles off the coast of the U.S. Let's band together and do this. And you see the culture that they bring with them, right? You see the entire stadium at Lone Depot Park in Miami explode the second that Fernando Tatis hits his home run. Oniel Cruz hit a home run the other night into the second deck. My ears were ringing from watching the TV broadcast, man. That is the stuff that we, the baseball fans, the true baseball fans, love about this sport. It's the stuff that you can appreciate about this sport. It's the emotion of Team Italy having a cappuccino maker in their dugout.
Oh my God.
It's all these teams. It's the Great British getting dressed up like British soldiers after they hit a home run. That's what baseball's about.
I thought Sam Yarnell had channeled his inner Bob Costas there for a moment. I don't know what the hell's going on. Odds and Ends is next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast. Monday through Friday, you can listen to this show while you're driving to work, on the treadmill, in the shower. I watch lots of TV in the shower. Listen to stuff in the shower. It's fantastic. Love the technology. Go and check out the podcast. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. I have said this throughout the show. I said it at the start of the show. I'm saying it again. As news is breaking in NFL free agency, we are there with Sports Wrap, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Full-length versions of Sports Wrap available there Monday through Friday. 45 minutes commercial-free waiting there for you early every afternoon. Then there are Sports Wrap shorts, and this is the place. When something big breaks in NFL free agency, we jump in with a Sports Wrap short. So if we don't get it into this show, check out the YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Sports Wrap shorts will have it covered. Sam even did a couple yesterday. They were fantastic. So that's even more reason. If you did not need a reason before, now you have one. Sam Yarnell actually did Sports Wrap shorts yesterday on the show. Sports Wrap shorts also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay, on this Tuesday, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell, some NBA for you. How about it last night? What a game between the Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This thing was a banger. Those two teams going at it for what felt like a 15-round fight. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, wow. What's it like, his 126th straight game with 20 points or more? Ties the record set by Wilt Chamberlain, which is remarkable that in this age of all this scoring in the NBA, nobody had actually tied that mark. Was kind of crazy to me. And then SGA, back-to-back possessions, huge threes. The second one, the game winner, locked it up for Oklahoma City. What a night for SGA. He had 35 on 14 of 21 shooting, 9 rebounds, career high 15 assists, no turnovers. I mean, that is a remarkable line in that game last night for SGA, Sam.
It is. The Thunder, great. It shows you why they're +1 whatever to win the whole thing. Like, this is why, because of that, even without everybody besides Jalen Williams and Taysom Wallace, right? Like, they had no Chet in that game, no other
Chet,
Jalen
no
Williams in that game,
no Hartenstein.
But man, like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a great night. He had a wonderful stat line. Wasn't the best player on the floor, and that's hilarious. Nikola Jokic, 32 points on 19 shots, 14 rebounds, 13 assists in a loss. I mean, if you're the Denver Nuggets, if you're not the Denver Nuggets, because screw the Denver Nuggets for a second. If you're Nikola Jokic, dude, I'm going out and doing this every night. I'm going out and doing this against the best team in the NBA, and we're still not winning? How is there not enough around Nikola Jokic to, when he goes out and does that, you gotta win the freaking game. I don't care, man. I don't care if you're playing the Eastern All-Stars. Like, you have to win that game when Nikola Jokic puts up 32 on 19 shots, 14 and 13. That's not a losable game for the Denver Nuggets. And Jason, if you needed any more proof, the West belongs to the Oklahoma City Thunder already.
I will tell you this. I disagree. I don't think it belongs to the Thunder. I'll still say it's the Spurs right now. But I will say this about Denver. And Adelman's got to take a hit here. The last two possessions, they let SGA go one-on-one. You have to make somebody else beat you. You cannot leave SGA on an island and let him beat you in that spot, especially after he just hit a 3 moments before he hits the game winner. You can't do it. The Magic caved. I don't know. Depends on how you look at this. I don't know how I know it's not a popular thing in sports talk to say. I don't know how I feel about a story. But the Magic have canceled Magic City Monday on March 16th for the Hawks and Magic after enough uproar. Luke Cornett of the Spurs sort of led the drumbeat on this. So, Sam Yarnell, I know you were planning to fly down to Atlanta for Magic City Monday.
I mean, Jason, have you had the lemon pepper wings? They're incredible. They are I'm a wing guy, right? My Buffalo roots, I'm a wing guy. I wanted to get some lemon pepper wings on Magic City Monday, and now I'm not going to be able to. No, but seriously, I'm glad that the hardworking people at the NBA offices and Adam Silver's office took the time away from, doing important investigations like Steve Ballmer working around the salary cap. They took a break from that. They put a pin in that one, and they said, hey, we got a real problem going on down in Atlanta. They're going to do a promotional night that we have to stop. Listen, I thought David Dennis Jr., who does great work at a bunch of different outlets, including ESPN, put it best on Twitter yesterday, right? And I think it kind of embodies the entire narrative kind of around the NBA and specifically this Magic City Monday. But David Dennis Jr. said on Twitter, I'd much rather explain to my kid, no matter what age they are, an 8-year-old kid, what Magic City is, right, on the way to an Atlanta Hawks game, than I would have to explain what that Karl Malone statue is doing outside of the Utah Jazz Arena.
We got to go. Thank you to Matt Verderame. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. You'll have the final word. That does it for us. That's Sports Wrap for this Tuesday. We'll see you back here on Wednesday. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap Shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as exciting. They're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.